September is finally upon us. There's only 2 games left in the Farrer League and 4 teams still standing in the RFL. Hello, I'm Simon Anderson, and joining us on Afl Riverina TV is Mangapla's Trent Cohalan, and from the East Wagga Kringle Football Club, Marc Geppert. Guys, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Simon.
Before we take a look at the weekend's footy, Gep, congratulations to East Wagga, obviously the first team into the OAMPS Farrer League Grand Final. What do you think's been probably the single most important factor in the Hawks' success this year?
Yeah, well, it's a great result for the footy club. They haven't been there for, I think, 13 years, I think it was. So, yeah, look, you could see a lot of the old boys on the weekend were pretty happy after the game to see us get through to a grand final. But yeah, I don't think it's something that you can put down to just one single thing. It's obviously been there. It's been a building progression for the whole year. And look, early in the year there was all sorts of distractions, a few weddings. We had some pretty bad injuries there for a while, and I suppose it's just been the last sort of 2 months where we've been very lucky with injuries where other clubs haven't. We've been able to build, and yeah, look, the game plan's been the same from the start, but it's just been a matter of having the cattle on the paddock to I suppose execute that. But on another positive note for the footy club, we've actually signed, I think it's 21 out of the 22 again for the 2015 season, which is a great result for the footy club, and hopefully that can help them build to get back to where they want to be.
Well, a great result for the footy club. Some great news for the grand finals this year. Afl Riverina is going to be live streaming all 3 footy grades from both the Farrer League and the RFL grand final days, including commentary of the 2 first grade grand finals from Luke Francis and the ABC's Chris Coleman. Now, the action from Mar Oval on Saturday the 13th of September will kick off at 9:30 in the morning. So if you can't get to the games, you can watch from home. If you are at the ground, you'll be able to check it out on your mobile device, including replays on however many goals Gep kicks on the day. Now, we'll take a look at the RFL first semi-final. Cohalan up against the Wagga Tigers. Gep, Redfern and Roberts, they're a handy pair. If you were at the Tigers, what would be the message to stop the supply to them, and is it easier said than done?
Yeah, well, as Shane mentioned before, it's easier said than done. You've obviously got to limit the supply going into the forward line, but yeah, look, Roberts and Redfern are 2 pretty key targets. So in saying that, Wagga Tigers aren't light on in defence. They've got Johnny Anstey and I think Pat Gaynor's been doing a pretty good job at fullback as well. And look, they probably do have that option of putting Matty Noonan back into the back line as well, who's been playing a bit up forward lately. So there's some good matchups there, but in saying that, yeah, it'll come down to the midfield battle, I'd say. Trent,
a pretty tight game against Cohalan at the weekend, but you got the all-important win. How do you think they'll bounce back against the Tigers?
I think they'll bounce back well. They were really solid early on the weekend, obviously showed their finals experience, and speaking about those 2 players, Redfern and Roberts, obviously they got on top of us early, which is something we didn't shut down until probably after half-time. If they get the footy into them like they were on the weekend early on, they'll be real hard to stop. I think they'll bounce back pretty strongly.
Matty Rava, a first-year coach, has the Tigers playing sort of their own game. What do you make of them?
They move the ball really quick. I actually watched them against Genmain on the weekend, and they really hurt on the turnovers. Genmain actually controlled a lot of the game. I think they had a lot of possession, but when they turned them over, Tigers just went bang, bang, and straight into the forward line, and it was a goal. They probably don't really have a key forward, but their forwards are little whippy, real quick guys, and they can sort of get on top of you, and just if you're not manning them up properly, they can put goals on the board pretty quick.
Gep, if you're a betting man, who would your money be on?
Oh, look, I think it'll be close, but I think that's probably the advantage that Cohalan probably has, is that they know how to win finals games. They've been there and done it in the past. Tigers probably aren't as experienced in finals time, so I'd probably just go with Cohalan based on experience.
What about yourself, Trent?
Yeah, I think Cohalan. They were really strong on the weekend, and obviously we had a couple of guys stand up, a couple of our kids stood up and probably outran them, if anything. I think they'll bounce back, and I think they're 2 experienced in finals footy. They'll get over the line, I think, just.
We'll take a look at the other RFL semi, shaping up as a cracking game for a spot in the grand final and also a week off. Mango got over Cohalan last week. The reward is a match against the Red Hot Demons, and Shane Lennon and the Gully Boys were watching last week. Do you think that they will know what they have to expect after watching you guys last week, or can you guys go to another gear?
I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what they'll take away from it. We were pretty ordinary early. We probably had a lot of our key players down, and I think a lot of our kids stood up and probably won us the game. So but that's just the case. Like, you get someone to put a tag on Carl Sandbrook, and then all of a sudden you shut down your supply out of the middle as well. So, look, Gully would have seen probably what they wanted to see. They haven't lost since round one, so obviously they're going to be tough to knock over. But yeah, I think we can go up another gear, but I think everyone's got to click into gear on the one day as well.
Gep, you know Sparks Lennon and Colin Gully as well as anyone. Has their season surprised you at all?
No, definitely not a surprise. I think last year that the young blokes weren't probably quite up to what they are now. They've really taken a massive step forward, and their young blokes are just absolutely killing it at the moment. And look at the same with Cohalan. I think Colin Gully have got that experience in finals footy. They've been there before. They've played plenty of grand finals. It hasn't been a surprise to me, no.
Trent, Gully's been labelled the benchmark for most of this year. They've been on the massive winning streak since you guys beat them in round one. Why are they so hard to beat?
Their run and drive, their experience. They have a good mix of youth plus experience, and they tend to just get on rolls. And when they get on a roll, they can kick 5 or 6 in a row, and you've sort of got to clamp down on that the whole game. Otherwise, you're gonna find yourself 5 or 6 goals down pretty early, which is what happened when we played them last time. In the first quarter, they sort of jumped us, and then we sort of, by the time we levelled it out, the scoreline sort of stayed the same. So I think with their run and experience from the back line, and just general experience across the ground, if they get on a roll, you've just really got to be able to click into gear and shut that down straight away.
Get blokes like Chris Gordon, Brad Aiken. What do they like to play alongside?
Oh, to play alongside, it's a privilege to play with blokes like that. And obviously, as a forward, you're always half a chance of getting your hands on it when either of those blokes have got the ball in their hands. But yeah, look, Brad Aiken, you'd struggle to find a record like his in any country footy league in Australia. He's been such a good player for such a long time, and I think Chris Gordon's well on his way of building a pretty impressive record himself. So obviously them two blokes are probably the key to Colin Gully. If they're both playing well, they're going to be hard to stop.
Trent, who holds the key to your performance this week? There's names obviously that come to mind like Sam Rook, Danaher, that featured pretty heavily in the Player of the Year standings. What do you guys think about who's the most important ones for you?
I think probably the back six as well with Aho. We're going to have to chop out and help Matty Collins a little bit because he gets some pretty good supply from their midfield. Obviously further up the ground, like we've discussed a couple of times, a few different people saying that you've got to cut off the supply to cut out guys like Aho. So probably Matty Collins will be a real key for us. Hunter Lloyd across centre half back, and then obviously the midfield battle will be a cracker. But and hopefully our forward line can get on top as well.
Gep, a tip for this one?
Oh, look, I'll have to stick with the Colin Gully boys. They've been the standout side all year. I think Mango and Colin Gully are very similar in the way they play. They've obviously got a fair bit of youth and things like that, but I'll tip Colin Gully with a little bit more finals experience than what Mango have.
We'll turn our attention to the Farah League now. Temora up against Mara for a shot at the Hawks in the decider. Yep, you guys have had the wood over Temora all year, 3 from 3, but you didn't have it your own way the whole game last weekend. What did you learn about Temora at Mara over last weekend, and what are Mara going to have to do on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I don't think us as a side, East Wagga, learnt anything new. We knew that Temora were the benchmark, and to be honest, I knew that they were the benchmark the whole way through. So, look, they put it to us pretty early in the game. We didn't tend to get going until probably after half time, and we were lucky that we came out in that last quarter and kicked a couple of early goals to sort of get a bit of a gap on the boys. But Temora have been the benchmark all year. Mara, as Shane mentioned before, look, they're playing some good footy at the right end of the year. I think they've finally worked out their injuries. So, I think Temora still are the benchmark team in the competition. I think their overall depth is better than any other side in the comp.
Trent, taking a look at the Farah League as a whole, blokes like Gep and Absalom at East Wagga, Collie Ambley and Temora brought in some quality players and a few ex-RFL players in coaching ranks across the sides. Temora won the last 2 pre-season charity shields as well. What do you make of the standard of the league?
I haven't seen a lot of games, to be honest, but obviously with guys like Gep and Abo going into the league and other clubs recruiting RFL players as coaches, it's obviously lifted the standard a little bit, whereas I think the RFL is probably looking at higher leagues from outside the region to recruit. So I guess they probably closed the gap a little bit on the RFL. It's obviously a cracking standard of footy, and East Wagga versus Temora or Mara, whoever they end up playing in the grand final, should be a ripper of a game.
Geppert had a tough win in the first week of the finals against North Wagga and then absolutely blew Coleambally away last week. Were you surprised by the result?
Probably the scoreline was probably surprising. I thought Mara probably would get over Coleambally. I think that Coleambally have probably been playing a similar style of footy to finals footy for probably the last 5 or 6 weeks. So it eventually does catch up to you at some stage when you're playing hard games week in, week out. And yeah, look, I think Coleambally losing Dean Pound as well. He's a ripper player. So yeah, I think the stars aligned for Mara to beat Coleambally on the weekend. But yeah, the scoreline was a surprise.
Who are you expecting to meet in the decider, and when the Hawks look to break that premiership drought?
Yeah, look, I think tomorrow probably will still get there. They've obviously had another couple of injuries on the weekend, but as I mentioned before, their depth is pretty good. I think they've probably got the strongest group of young kids coming through to choose from, and watching their reserves play on the weekend as well. They've got plenty of run and plenty of youth in that side as well. So I think tomorrow will get the job done. But as Shane mentioned before, Mara are playing with a do or die attitude, and it's a preliminary final, so anything can happen. But I'd say we'll be facing tomorrow.
You got a tip for the Farah League, Trent?
With no confidence, but I think Marc's probably right. I think tomorrow will have too much experience, and I think losing on the weekend and finishing first on the ladder, obviously they'll want to get into that grand final and have another crack at going 3 in a row.
Guys, well, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck on the weekend, and Gep, enjoy the week off.
No worries. Thanks, Ando.
Thanks, mate.